share my screen, and then I'm going to go into Illustrator, and we're going to create a walk cycle that's going to look kind of like this one here. So I'm just going to open a new page, letter size. I'm actually going to have it go the orientation that's horizontal. I'm going to create that. And what I'm going to do is grab my mouse because it's going to be tough to work with. I'm going to bring in 2 reference images, or a reference image. So, and I'm going to give this to you guys. I don't know why that's not working. So I'm just going to put that on the side, and I'll lock that one so that it's not in the way. So what we're going to do is we're going to create this this character here, and this shows like how the walk cycle goes. I have a little small book here that is actually of the pages of a walk cycle. It kind of shows you how to do it, or how it's kind of what the process is and how they kind of think of doing a walk cycle. So this is from that book, little booklet. It's just copied pages from this animation book here. So first is that we're gonna create the ground. So if I go to, why can't I think of it? View rulers, Command R, which I can't find on here. So if I go Command R, that gets my rulers, which is, next to the space bar is your command button, and then pressing the R key gives you the rulers. You can show them popping up on the screen. And what that allows you to do is click it. If I hold it and drag it, I'm still holding my mouse button. I'm going to drag it down, and this is going to be the ground, so I know where the ground floor is. And then I'm going to put, I won't put the height in just yet. I'm going to do that in a minute. So that guide, I'm going to put it on this locked layer because I just want to, if I keep going over it, it's going to keep selecting it. So I'm just going to drop it into that layer so it's there. I can hide that whole thing at any point. So I'm going to work on this layer 2. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just draw a box of the body that's here. And I'm going to give it a color. And I've got the fill. I'm not going to make the line. I'm just going to make the fill. And I'm going to use colors that, these green colors, just because I can show a middle color, a background color, and a foreground color. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. So if I have that, and he should have rounded shoulders and a rounded pelvis here. So if I grab these corners here and I just hover over them, it gives me that, I can go on that circle. And if I click and drag that circle, it makes my corners curved. So I have the curved corners, and then, sorry, I clicked down on the screen. And then I'm just going to select my circle. So if I click and hold here, and then I can go down to the circle, and I'm going to make a head. And if I hold down my shift key, it makes a circle when I make it bigger and smaller. If I press, while I'm holding my shift key, and I press the space bar, I can move my circle around to where I want to have it. And then I can let go of the space bar, make it bigger, kind of move it around. So I'm kind of placing it. You could do it by, if you have it drawn and you just want to move it around, you can do that too by moving it around. I just feel it's a little bit quicker to kind of hold the space bar and hold the shift thing to kind of control it as I'm building it. But there's many ways to do different things in these different programs here. So I've got that, which is the middle, which is the mid-tone. And then I'm going to use my pen tool here, and I'm going to draw the arm. So I'm looking kind of at this guy right here. And if I zoom in, the things that this talks about is that when you start drawing a walk cycle, the best thing to do is start with the first one, the last one, and then put a middle one in. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So there's my guy. And then I'm going to create a leg. So I'm going to create the arm, I said. And the arm of this one goes back. I'm going to go here, there, there, and there. And if I push down escape, it gets rid of that line. So I'm not kind of dragging all over the place. And I'm just going to make this my line rather than my fill. So if I switch these here, by clicking on that, it switches it. It's really thin. So if I go to my stroke over here, if stroke isn't showing up, you can go to window and stroke. So I have my stroke, the thickness of it. So I'm going to increase the width of this arm. And it's not quite where I want it to be, so I might move things around. And then I can also, this is when I want to choose a different color. So I'm going to select that one, bring it forward, and then have my arm a lighter color. So it's in the foreground, if you want to call it that. So I'm going to create a second arm. So I'm going to do it the same way. Click here. It goes down, and then like that. And maybe I'll change it around a little bit. And I'm holding my command button, changes my arrow key, my pen tool to an arrow key, so I can make those quick changes while I'm kind of working on it. So I'm going to hit escape. So it's still selected. And right now I have two arms in the foreground, and I want this one to be darker, so I'm going to choose this to make it darker. And then I want to put it in the background, so I have my layers. So I can do one of two ways. If I have this here, I have it selected, I could drag this to the bottom like that, right? Another way I can do it is if I hold down the Shift and Command button and hit the bracket, it sends it to the back. Which did I not do right? What is it? I don't know, my keyboard's not working. All right, so I'm going to do it that way. But you can usually hold down Command Shift and it should send it to back. And if I click on this one, let's see, maybe it'll do it this way. Back, then forward. See how it's moved from the backmost layer. And now if I hit the other bracket, it brings it to the forwardmost layer. So that's one way to kind of work really kind of fast, and you kind of shift things around, or arms around, or whatever. So now with this in the background, it looks like this one is not right. Why does it look so weird? So all right, so it kind of looks like that one there. So I'm going to do the same thing with the legs. Let's see, this leg comes forward, straight, and then a foot. And then I'm going to do the back leg. All right, I'm holding my command button doing that. I'm holding my command button and just changing that. So that leg is fine, and I want to send that to the background. And this one I want to bring and make it the same color as that. So the way I can do that is go to my eyedropper and then click on that, and it makes it the same color as that one. Right, so I've got my guy. If I want to make things bigger or thicker, I can do that, just selecting them and then increasing the stroke of them. Maybe the legs need to be a little thicker. Makes a little more sense, right? If I want these on the line, which I can do, I could move them up. Right? And then this one here is not going to be on that line. Well, maybe like that is fine. I'll do that. Right? So I've got my guy, and I want to make this, the other one on the other side here is exactly the same as this one, except the arms are in the different position, the legs are in the opposite position. So all I'm going to do is, if I go to my layers, if I take this layer, before I move it, I'm going to name it, and this is contact. And then I'm going to go down and drag it down here to this button right here. And I let go of it, and it makes a second one. And then right now, if I go like this and I select it, it selects both layers. So I don't want that. So just to select one of them, if I click here, it selects just that layer. And if I click on this, you can see that all the parts inside are selected. So then I can move this over to here. And I'm going to hold shift when I'm moving it. I'm going to move it out to about there. I want to move both of them. I'm holding shift. I selected them both. And then I moved it over. Right, so now they're both there. I'm going to take this line and I'm going to use my thing and I'm going to change it to be that color. And then this one here. If I go to this here, it's going to make it the same thickness, and I don't want it to be the same thickness. So I could look at this and I go, it's 12 points, and then when I do that, I could change it down to 12. And now I want to switch this one to be like that, and I want this one to look like that. And which size is this? 17. All right, so I've got both those guys, and now I need to make a third guy in the middle, and you can see that he crosses this line that's at that height there, and this guy's going to cross even higher, right? So I'm going to bring this line down to find out where the top of his head is. So I'm going to click and drag that down, and now I know where that is. If I want to put that on that other layer, I can do that, which will cause some problems if I don't. Now it's there, and I lock it, so that's not going to bother me. And then I'm just going to take this guy. Well, I don't want to do it that way. I want to take this here. I want to take one of these guys and then go down here and duplicate it. And then I want to call this, what's that middle game guy there? Pass, that's right, yeah, pass. Right, so I have that, and then I just move them over. And then I'm just going to change them around to look like this guy that's in the middle. Right, so you'll do that with all the different ones. Yeah, you're right. Yep, so this here is got to go back, and this here is going to come forward, and then this one is going to come forward. This one's going to go back. And then I could go in and switch this a little bit with this and maybe move that like that, right? Or I don't know, maybe it would be the other way. So he's going to kind of rotate a little bit when he's walking. So from there, you guys, I think you can figure out what to do after that and how you're going to build your guys. So I would name each one of these. You should name them all, because when you bring them into Photoshop, it would be nice to have those names on them. All right, so at this point, I would save this and name it. So I'm going to save it to my desktop. So in the end, where is that guy? Right here. I have this whole thing here is what you're going to create, and then you'll end up having to create the second part, which is a copy of the first one, but you're switching all the arms going back and all the legs going the other way, just like I just did on that last thing. So in the end, you should have, you know, what is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You'll probably have 10 because this one right here is the beginning, the middle, and the end of it. So there's one that if you copy the whole first section and then make it over here, you're gonna have to delete that middle one that's there because that guy's a repeat, right? You get that? Right. It'll make sense to you, I think, when you work on it. If I'm in Illustrator here, and I kind of just want to show you one part here, is that with my guys here, which I showed you guys that you use a pen tool to create that, the guys that I had made in their legs, my legs are, and if I go to view outline, my legs are solid shapes, which I was able to kind of do things like this and this, which you probably didn't have that kind of access to. And you can see that my lines are just these straight lines that look like that. But when I turn the view back, it's a thickness to it. So what that is that Illustrator works in a way where if you draw a line with the pen tool, and you have a thickness to that line, like that, you can make it so it's a shape, because right now it's just, we're calling it a line. But if I want to make it a path or a shape like these legs are, if I go to object and expand it, it's going to allow me to change the fill and the stroke. And right now that it's got, it's now, if I go to preview, it's now a shape. You can see that it's a shape here now. And what happened is when I go into Photoshop and I brought it in, it actually brings it in a different way. And I just didn't want you to do that because it causes a little bit of confusion. But what it does is you can change these guys around a lot and then bring it in. And I think Illustrator allows you to kind of draw things kind of quickly, quicker than Photoshop would allow you to draw things. So that's why I was having you do it in Illustrator. So I'm going to delete this, and if I have saved this, so I'm going to show you what this looks like when you open it up. But then I'm also going to show you this one here. All I did was just copied the guys and then just repeated it. So it looks just like, this, view, outline, right? So I'm just showing you, if you brought it in a different way, what happens. So if I go in and I file, I save this, if I go to export as, I'm going to export it as a Photoshop, and I'm going to leave it the same name here and export it, right? And this one here, I'm going to call it something else, and I'm going to export it just because I already have it opened up as something else. So if I go into Photoshop now, and I go to File, Open, and I want to show you that first one first, this one here, and if I hit Open, what happens is it comes in as little groups like this here, and there's like, you can see it's all in pieces, which is really kind of annoying. What you can do if you want, you'd have to go like this and select them all, and then I can go up to Layer, and then I can go over here to merge layers, and it's going to merge it as one layer, and then I can call that whatever thing that is in that one. So I just felt like it was a lot of work. The other way to do it is the other way, and it worked better the other way that I had you guys do it. So if I go to Open, and then I find my walk here, what do I name it? This one here. Right, it's that one, and I hit Open. It comes in with the names of my layers that I have in Illustrator, and it's all in its own separate layer, right? So now if I want to do a walk cycle, I just go in here and I create video template, click on there, and then I'm just going to shift these down to make them you know, smaller, just like you did before. This is actually, they're really big here. I think if I go all the way to that, I know it seems like it's flattening completely, but they're actually smaller there. And this isn't going to walk correctly because mine isn't what you guys have done. And then if I go here and make this bigger here, I can see how big they are. And then I would just shift these over. And then if I hit the thing, you can see that it walks, right? And then I can just shift these and make these actually, I think I found that 3 actually works out better. And this is going to look really weird because of right. But if I go to the other one, I can show you what it looks like. Right, so he walks across, and you can see that these are 3 here. All I did was create a background and stuck it behind it to make it look like it's walking on behind something, to make it a little more interesting. You can also do here where I did open, where is it? Stationary. So he's standing in one spot, and he's just standing there. And all I did was I had to just go to each character, and I set up with my rulers out. I went and put points where the floor was. And I actually put the point here on the body like that, and then I made sure I moved every single one of those over to that edge of there, and now when I run it, he's just walking in the middle of the screen rather than kind of going across the screen. So if you want to do that, you can do that too. Get that off. So that's how you do it, right? Any questions on that? You guys are pretty familiar with it now. I think that you'll be able to do it pretty quickly. So I'm going to turn off the record.